G'day. Labels are for jars. Well, g'day. Life's been a bit busy lately, so I'm actually filming this in a radio studio while I'm on radio. Nowadays we seem to have a preponderance of labels that we not only have put on us, but sometimes we put on ourselves. And society as a whole is actually liking more and more labels on things, to the point where some people want to be only identified in certain ways as a certain subgroup. And I might be labelled a white male or a cis or something. Like that's my whole identity, this little acronym. And really, it's crazy because we are all more than a label. We're more complex than that. We're deeper. And labels and these terms that we put on ourselves and other people box us in. There's fences. We're in this paddock that says we're this. And we're not expected to go outside that paddock, or that might frighten the horses. So really, I'm over this label stuff. I don't like it. I think it's limiting, and it denies people the chance to move, to grow, to be creative, to be themselves, because they're corralled into this little jar with a label on it. And I don't think that's good for society. People are more than labels. Even the big one, like photographer. I'm a photographer. No, I'm far more than that. Oh, I'm a father. No, I'm more than that. Oh, I'm a husband. I'm much more than that. And so are you. Labels limit us. They might give someone a vague idea of what we might be interested in, but they are so limiting. And really, we need to get out of those boundaries. Ditch the label. Explore all that you are and let people see it. And what's this got to do with photography? Well, photography is full of labels, not only for different types of photographers, but even different gear. And we need to go past the labels and be people again. Hang on, I've got to go on air. Yarra FM 99.1, it's 20 minutes past 9. Hope you're enjoying the jazz. Coming up now in this bracket, we're going to hear from Mace Francis, plus 11 with Casserole for 2. Kate Sobrano with her version of Heroes, Andrea Keller with Belonging, and Harry Tinney with King Snake. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, got to keep working. So, what sort of labels do photographers put on themselves? Well, common ones. We've all heard landscape photographer, wedding photographer, portrait photographer, street photographer. And when you put those labels on yourself, you think you're expanding yourself into that area of expertise. But you're also denying yourself any other form of photography that you might want to choose, or people might think you can do. One of the things I've learned over years of doing photojournalism is these labels, these styles of photography, and even finding your own personal style can be an interesting journey, but they're also quite limiting. If you limit yourself to a certain style and think, oh, that's what you're going to be for the rest of your photographic life, you've cut yourself off from everything else. So I would suggest, if you're going to do something like learn your style, learn a style. Practice it till you're happy with what you get. And then move on. Try something different. Learn a new thing. Expand yourself. Don't get stuck in one little paddock, fenced in. with photojournalism, in any given day, I had to do landscape photography, portraits, event photography, sport and action, all in a way that satisfied the people paying me to take photos, and all with the minimum amount of gear. So in effect, at the most I would have 2 cameras, 2 lenses. That's all I needed to cover all that stuff. Often I just needed 1 camera and 1 lens. And learning how to cope with your own creativity, your own expertise and your own gear to shoot portraits and then landscapes and then a sport match, one after the other in an afternoon, that really grows you as a photographer. You're not stuck, you're not scared of what's coming up next, because you know you can handle it and you know your gear can handle it. Now when I say things like, oh, your gear can handle it, I mean it. Take for instance a 35mm equivalent lens. That can cover street, it can cover close action, it can cover architecture, it can cover things like weddings, it's good for landscape. In the Fujifilm world, get an X100V. It's got a 35mm equivalent lens on it. That one little camera with its lens will cover all that stuff. An incredibly good lens, very good camera, fast, it has everything in it you need for that sort of situation. So thinking your lens or your camera body might limit you, I'll show you this. This is the Fujifilm 18-135. Now, if you like close wide angle stuff, this goes down to 18mm. If you're covering sport action, then it goes up to 135, which is about 200mm. 1 lens, okay? It covers a huge range of stuff, including good ranges for portraits. Now, okay, there's more dedicated portrait lenses out there. I've got the 56 1.2, famous for using as a portrait lens, but it's good for other stuff as well. Whatever you'd use about an 85mm lens for. Limiting your gear with labels limits your creativity and your ability to get shots, because you think, oh, I haven't got the right gear. It's either sitting there on your camera or in your camera bag. What else we got here? Samyang 12mm. I use this a lot in my photojournalism work, and it's really good for indoor work in small rooms with groups of people. It's wide enough for that sort of thing. It's good for architecture. It's good for real estate. It's good for street. It's good for landscape. 1 lens. Don't label it as one thing. It can do all sorts of things. Close to that, the Fujifilm 16mm f2.8. Great street lens. Good for architecture as well. And group shots. It's good for landscapes. You don't need anything wider than aperture 2.8 for a landscape. You're often shooting it at f8, f11. So don't worry about the how wide open it gets. That's irrelevant. Little lens like this can cover so many different things, so long as you don't stick one label on it. I'm filming at the moment with the kit lens. Now there's a label, the 18-55 Fujifilm kit lens. It's a stunning lens. It goes from 18mm to 55, which means I can cover good wide angle. Out at 55, it's about 80mm or something. That's okay for portraits. It's good for street. It's not that big. It's got really good optics. It's not going to let you down. So, sticking a label on it like kit lens sort of denigrates the thing when it can do so many different things so well. If you go outside the Fujifilm ecosystem, what I have here is the Viltrox 33mm 1.4. It's got autofocus. It's a really good lens to use as well. Okay, it is a prime, 52mm equivalent, something like that. Does a great job. And if you like the wide open, 1.4 for bokeh, then this lens has it. and it can cover portraits, it can cover street, it can cover good city shots. It's wide ranging. Don't limit your gear. Also outside the Fuji lens, I've got the TT Artisan here. This is the 50mm f1.2. Again, if you like wide open apertures, 1.2 is pretty good. 50mm means about 75 or so mil equivalent, 35mm lens, and that's really good for portraits. It's also good for street. Yeah, it's versatile. All these lenses can do more than one thing. Throw the label away. Labels are for jars. So what I want to tell you basically is don't limit yourself by putting a label on yourself. Lots of photographers out there want to specialise and let people know they specialise, like in landscape or wedding or portraits or something like that. But if that's all you can do, you really need to get out of your little paddock, climb the fence, try new things, use the same gear, because it's all very versatile stuff. You don't need to dump your whole system and buy into a whole new system just because you're changing a so-called style of photography. Use what you got, play around with it. Okay? And that goes for professionals as well as amateurs, enthusiasts, whatever you are. Get out of your paddock. Rip the label off. Don't limit yourself. Okay? Expand your horizons. Get out there and do stuff. Whatever you got, get out there and have some fun. Bye.